Roxo Media House.
Jeff Wilson started covering the Texas Rangers in 2008, though he'll never forget 2021. Out on his own, he decided it was time to do a podcast, but his wheels were spinning until a nerd came along. There's no going back now. Welcome to the Texas Rangers Baseball Podcast. Here's your host, Jeff Wilson, and the recliner nerd himself, John Moore.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Texas Rangers Baseball Podcast. This is episode number 41, and today, Mitch Bratt. He is a left-handed pitcher that came from Canada, and he was drafted by the Rangers in the 5th round last year. We're going to have Mitch come on. He plays for the Down East Wood Ducks, so they're up there in Kinston. I think they live in Greensboro or something.
Greenville,
North Carolina. We'll talk to him in a little bit. But first, we got to go to the big league team. This is Thursday. They just finished a series in Kansas City. Tomorrow they go to New York. They're 36-38, 5-5 in the last 10, and they have lost a game because they did lose yesterday 2-1. They can't get to 500. They get to a game of it and something happens.
Well, and that we're celebrating 500 kind of speaks to where the franchise has been.
Absolutely.
It's a nice number. It's a achievement, I guess, to show some progress. But when they did it, it was May 31st was the last time they did it. They were 24-24, and we went in and we're talking to everybody about it. They'd just beaten Tampa Bay, and talking to Corey Seager, and he's like, "Yeah, that's not really the way we need to look at it. We need to look at it like we want more." And he's right.
Exactly.
He's right, but to get to above 500, you got to get to 500.
You got to get to 500.
After they reached 500, I think they lost 7 of 9 or something like that, 5 of 7, I don't remember.
Right.
And have had to fight their way back, and they ended up not having a winning June. I think there were 2 games under 500, 12-14 or something like that. But
right.
This team is better. We say it every week that it's better, and to get to 500, it's going to be tough this weekend because the Mets are really good.
Although they just lost 3 to Houston.
Yeah, well, Houston's pretty good too.
Are they?
And then, then the Orioles, then they come home. Twins, Mariners, A's, or Twins, A's, Mariners. Those 3 teams in some shape, form, or fashion on the way to the All-Star break. So there is a chance to get to 500 by the All-Star break, but just celebrate that this team is better.
Oh my gosh, they're gonna, if they keep at the pace they're doing, we're talking 18 games over where they were last year. They're going to win, and I think everyone thought if they can win 10 more than last year, 10 to 12, that's the right path. Even though you wanted more, but we're talking 18 to 20 games.
Yeah, I mean, this team won 60 games last year.
Exactly.
And they've already got 36 wins, and we're talking about them being a 500 team and them showing signs that they can be a 500 team. And and when the year is done, and whatever their final record is going to be, whether it's 75-87 or
right.
Or 78-84, whatever, it's going to be substantially better than what it was last year. And I think maybe at that point people realize, all right, hey, they're on the right track.
Absolutely. And we already know this offseason they're going to do something. They may do something at the trade deadline. We don't know. It's going to be for long term. They're not going to be renters. They'll never be renters right now.
Right now.
Not in this point. That renters comes when you're leading or you're right there and you feel I've got the team. And if it's just a rental I need, I'll get it when I need that one thing. Got to talk about a couple of people, though. The lineup's been interesting the last few days. They've had Josh Smith at the top of the lineup, and they switched Semien and Seager, having Semien go third and Seager second. That seems to have worked out. Yesterday, look, Zach Greinke kind of, he's capable of shutting down a team.
Yeah.
Whether you like it, I know he's not the Zach Greinke from a long time ago, but he does have that in his arsenal. He can do that. But I liked what I saw when they got Josh Smith at the top, and maybe that little bit of protection there for Semien when you've got Seager going second. Both of them, that day, they were 4 for 5 with a home run, a double. Mm-hmm. That was a pretty good day.
Yeah. Josh Smith first, they want to see what it looks like. They want to see the bat looks like. And honestly, he has some of the best at-bats on the team. He very rarely chases. You saw it in his first at-bat yesterday, that slow Zach Greinke curveball. And young hitters are the ones who are going to struggle against Zach Greinke just because he can do so much stuff. You see that, but you see the at-bat quality, and it's just really good.
It's impressive.
And
yeah.
So you want to see it. You want to see if it can spark the offense. It has. I think they had 2 really good games there in Kansas City. The Simeon Seager thing's interesting. I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen again against the right-handed pitcher. But Simeon has been a lot better.
Yeah.
Seager is still farting around a little bit.
Yep.
And we asked Chris Woodward about it, and he said, if you look at the ex-WOBA, it's around 400s, which would suggest that Seager has been unlucky, hitting a lot of balls hard, just they're getting caught or whatever. All right, if you believe in the luck versus no luck thing, that's fine. But it needs to be better, and I think he knows that too. But we've talked a lot about Adolis Garcia on the past shows. What a great June he's had.
Right.
I guess it's over technically because today's the 30th and they don't play. What a great June he had.
Yep.
Nate Lowe had a great June. So it's good to see those two, the carryovers from the 2021 team who had to be better.
Right.
And their numbers right now probably aren't better than what they were last year at this time, but I think they're better players.
Absolutely. No, they look.
They're the better hitters. Yeah.
Well, it's the eye. Look, there's still part of this is the eye test. And the eye test is when they're at the plate, they look like they're in the at-bat. They don't look overwhelmed or overmatched. We used to see that with some players, like Odor would be up, have 2 strikes, and you just never felt confident that was going to go one way. It happened with a few people. You've seen that.
Well, it's happened with Garcia.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Last year, the second half last year just wasn't any good. And,
exactly.
He's still going to swing and miss, and that's
because
fine.
he pumps everything into a swing.
But it's just better. And late games, obviously we've talked about that. He's very good. Jonah Heim he's had a breakthrough year, I guess. I think he's kind of plateaued a little bit, but with 2 strikes, he's very, very good, which is interesting. They saw it, threw up the graphic during the game yesterday. I think he's like second in the American League among catchers with 2 OPS with 2 strikes. Some crazy category, but
right.
He's better. Another guy from 2021 who had to get better. So you're seeing good things in the lineup.
We do need to get into Garver because Garver has a decision that he's got to make.
Yes. He probably has about 2 weeks until he has to decide whether he needs to have surgery or not on that forearm. They call it a forearm muscle strain. Our tendon, it's the flexor muscle. I don't know. I always thought it was a tendon. Anyway, it needs surgery. He can't catch without it.
Right.
And talking to him the other day, Sunday at the end of the homestand, he was not, didn't want to talk much about it. You could tell he was frustrated because it was hurting. He had just come off the COVID list and it was sore and hurting him when he swings, and they were trying anti-inflammatories to make it better. I think he was really frustrated with that. And also, he said, "I'm a catcher.
Yeah.
This is not who I am." And DHing is not easy,
right.
Especially if you've played every day and been in the middle of
catchers in every play.
Every play.
Yeah.
And so it's there's some mental grind there. So I think there's a physical toll to his batting average. He homered the other night. I think he has 7 or 8 home runs this season. But I think I'll be surprised if he doesn't have surgery. I mean, over the All-Star break or right around there. If he does it then, it gives him time to recover and be ready for
spring training.
Well, definitely the start of the regular season. And it kind of gives a little leeway too in case there's a setback or something. He can still have time to deal with a setback and still be ready. He could have season, the surgery after the season and be ready to hit at the start of the year. But he does not like that option. I presented that to him and he's like, "I'm still not catching." I was like, "All right, I get it." So I think that's going to happen. And then at that point, the DH spot frees up. You can bring Sam Huff back if you want. I guess
that may not be what they need to do.
You could bring Ezekiel Duran back.
Saleh, however you say his name.
I don't know about Josh Saleh. It's a nice story and he's doing really well. And maybe he does force their hand, but he's 30, 31. And,
right.
He's had the history with substance abuse and,
right.
God bless him for getting back on track. But I think that if it comes down to
a bat,
it's going to be Huff or Duran, because Duran, you can also create at bats for him, with the DH spot now open. So It'll be interesting to call to see what they do there. I mean, you've seen what Huff has done since he's gone down. He's hit 3 home runs in a week.
He's been on fire.
And so they were talking about he was going the wrong way. Well, it looks like he's picked up and it's fine. So I don't know what they'd do there. It'd be interesting.
He took the
very
demotion.
interesting.
Right. He went down and started doing what he needed to do.
He played the next day.
He played and he did. And that is a maturity of I want to get back to where I was and doing it. When you get into some things about the big league team, the top of the rotation has still been decent this whole time. Those top 3, Gray, Perez, Dunning, all three had good outings last. I know Perez gave up the 4 runs, but he ended up going 6 innings. Yeah. That's going to happen with any starter. They're going to have one of those games where they just, whatever's going on there and they don't get it done. But, for adding one pitcher to this rotation, I know Hearn got demoted and they sent him down to AAA. We knew that was coming, so that spot's coming up. I think Otto's coming.
He's going to pitch Friday.
But he's not Hearn's spot. Otto.
Right. Oh, the Hearn spot. They've skipped it.
Howard's pitching tonight.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out when Hearn. They're going to go with a bullpen game at some point. Looks like they're going to do that against the Orioles, and that could allow them to, if I'm doing it right, got to do the math, carry the 1 and all that stuff. They may need a starter against the. No, I think they'll be able to get away without a starter until after the next off day, which is next Thursday. So
right.
they can skip that Hearn spot a couple times, but eventually that last home stretch of the season, getting home. To the All-Star break, right? They're going to need a starter, and I don't know who it'll be. Technically it could be Hearn, it could be Howard. Both 40-man guys. Yep.
Cole Winn had a great night last night, but I think they want to see more of that.
It was interesting because last week when we did this, the thought was that it was Spencer Howard's spot to lose, and he needed to have a good outing, and he did. He allowed 2 runs in 5 innings. I think he walked 3. Probably wasn't as efficient as the Rangers would have liked. And so the next day we asked about it and he hadn't done enough. Maybe they want to see it one more time. He
tonight's important.
Maybe they get him to 6 innings. Maybe they can stretch him out a little bit. And they don't necessarily need to do that though. Chris Woodward said, maybe he is just a 2 times through the order guy right now, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with that because Howard's probably more deserving than anybody else.
Right.
And unless Cole Reagans has 2 great starts, but I still think that's not a move until after the trade deadline would be my guess. So
and he's just reaching right now what he pitched last year in innings. So I know they're stretching him out for a lot more innings, and he's ready to go a lot more innings. But we got to remember that's 2 Tommy John surgeries, and he can't come out here and start firing off 7-inning games and finish the season that way. Some fatigue's got to hit at some point.
Yeah, you would think so, but.
But at the big league level, there's more adrenaline.
Yeah. Speaking of Perez, All-Star voting has closed, I think, and the Rangers didn't have anybody get voted onto the team. Perez, I think, makes the team very clearly. And then you kind of wonder who is anybody else. And that's why I put Brock Burke up behind us. Boy,
it's hard to ignore those numbers.
Yeah, Jeff Passan tweeted something out the other day. Like top relievers, and Brock wasn't on the list. It was for both leagues. Probably is on the AL list. You look at his traditional numbers, which are obviously very, very good, and then the more analytical numbers, which are just off the charts. I think Sports Illustrated I think it was MLB.com wrote kind of like a dark horse all-star candidate for every team, and they picked Dennis Santana. But Burke's numbers are better than Santana's. So right. I think though that it may just be unless Adolis Garcia stays hot and gets picked as an outfielder, I think it may be just a one-man show this year for the Rangers at the All-Star game. I
mean, there's some sort of a small case you could make for Heim, but the guys in front of him are doing well, and he didn't get any of the votes there. But Heim's somebody that has played well above there. That he could be somebody if people start falling off or somebody doesn't want to do it. That's certainly a guy that might have a little deserving. He's played well.
Yeah.
So Duggar's up now. We know White's down. I just kind of compared Duggar as the left-handed White. That's basically what he is. Mm-hmm. He's not going to be your everyday center fielder or starter. That's still going to go to Leote right now. And then I've watched after they've sent down Duran, Culberson's serving a purpose, whether people like to believe that or not. He is the guy on the end of the bench they don't have to worry about. He can pinch run late. He can play defense late. He did get a start the other day.
Right.
So every once in a while they're going to throw him a bone and get him out there just to stay there. But that's a guy you're not worried about development. You and I have talked about that so many times.
And he can pitch.
He's got
upper 80s, low 90s fastball. He's been really good as a position player pitching.
I think eventually when we come after the All-Star break or get to the trade deadline, I think eventually Culberson's not on the team just because they're going to start bringing more people up. That's a guy that's probably going to get picked up by somebody.
Sure, I would think so.
For a contender. I think the value's there.
There was mild interest in him at the trade deadline last year. He was hitting left-handers so well that the Rangers had fielded some calls about him. I don't think it was anything that they felt was worth trading him. Plus, they actually really needed him.
Yeah, they needed him. They needed him last year.
And they still need a utility infielder who doesn't need at bats.
Right.
And that's what we were just talking about, or you were talking about. And I don't know how that makes Charlie Culberson feel to hear him talked about that way, but I think he knows who he is and what he is, and at this point, and I think the Rangers would rather keep him. I know the Rangers would rather keep him on the bench than Ezekiel Duran or
absolutely
Josh Smith or Davis Wenzel or Luis Angel Acuna. Some infielder, some young infielder.
Absolutely,
they want those guys getting at bats. And Charlie is a professional enough. He knows what he needs to do to be ready for a game and come off the bench and do stuff. So I could see the need for a roster spot, sure, but. There's a need for Charlie Culberson.
Yep, absolutely. They're coming off. They're going into New York now. Then they got Baltimore before they get back. Then they're going to have the long homestand before the All-Star break. So this is kind of important this weekend. It'd be nice to take a couple of games from the Mets, like you said.
Yeah.
Baltimore obviously seems like somebody that could go in and at least take a couple of games, but we'll see how this team does. They played better on the road than I think we thought. They've come away pretty well on these road trips.
I think they have a better road record than home record.
I think so, yeah.
That's interesting considering last year they were so abysmal on the road, and really the last couple of years. So hey, another sign of improvement, another sign of what veterans can do for your team. They've been there, done that.
I think you can't. It's hard to argue right now that this team isn't better. So I mean, all the screaming we hear on Twitter and everything that they do, that this is a better team. So anything else? I think we get Mitch Bratt in here.
Yeah, let's get Mitch in here and get rolling. He's got a ballpark to get to.
Okay, so we'll get to Mitch Bratt right after this, and then we'll go down in the bus leagues later.
Yeah, we'll do it.
All right, and joining us right now from where are you at, Mitch?
I'm in Greenville, North Carolina right now.
Greenville, North Carolina. Actually, they play in Kinston, North Carolina for the Down East Wood Ducks. It's Texas Rangers left-handed pitching prospect Mitch Bratt. He's a Canadian. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. Mitch, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great. Things are going really well here. I really appreciate you having me on the show. Looking forward to talking about it.
Appreciate you coming on. These are your waning days as an 18-year-old. Are you pretty excited to turn 19? I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah. It's pretty nice being the youngest one on the team. Always joking around. Oh, when are you going to turn 19? When are you going to grow up? All this stuff. So this Sunday I'm going to be turning 19.
All right, so July 3rd, you're turning 19. I was just double checking the bio, and it said 2003. And I thought for a minute, is it 2023? Is he really just turning 19? And then I remembered, you were a young 18 when you were drafted. And
right.
All right, well, happy birthday in advance. And
thank you.
I hope you get to celebrate it with a win.
Well, that proves right. Kat and I were married in 2003. So when we were getting married, his mother was waddling around at about
there you go,
about 8 months, getting ready to pop there when that happened. Hey, happy birthday. We won't see you then. We won't be Sunday, so happy birthday Sunday.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
All right, baseball talk. you are the reigning Carolina League pitcher of the week.
Yes.
Your last outing, 5 no-hit innings, no walks, 7 strikeouts. You hit a guy. Where'd you hit him?
I hit him on an 0-2 curveball right at the top of the foot. Yeah, it was my second hitter of the game, and I threw a curveball. He didn't move out of the box. He just stood there, so I thought it didn't hit him, and then he slowly walked to first. So I was pretty confused, but I mean, from that point on, it was pretty smooth sailing from there.
Back foot?
I believe so. Yeah.
Foot.
It was right-handed hitter, just stood there and wore it. So.
All right. Well, still a pretty good outing. I mean, I think they'll take 5 no-hit innings. I know it's not 5 perfect, but 5 no-hit they'll take. What just catch us up on what is working, because it wasn't just your last start. It's been a season-long thing.
Mm-hmm. So I'd say just the biggest thing is fastball command. I think if you throw first pitch for a strike, whether that is my fastball or just any pitch for a strike, the hitters kind of realize that, and you can just attack them right away. Like, don't get me wrong, the hitters in this league are good, but I think if you just get right ahead at them right away, then they don't really stand a chance.
Yeah, and then looking at the numbers, 42 strikeouts and 11 walks in 34 and a third innings or something like that. Not that anybody's keeping track, but last year when you made your debut in the Arizona Complex League, you didn't walk anybody. So I mean, this seems like it's not something that's new. This is something that you're kind of built upon. Where did you get this foundation?
I'd say the foundation comes just from my athleticism on the mound and my ability to kind of tweak minor things if I feel like something's off that day. Mm-hmm. Like if I feel like I'm opening up too much on my front side, then I can make an in-game adjustment, which will help me stay down the mound and just pound the zone even more.
Okay. All right. So you're throwing a fastball, a curveball that hits guys in the feet. What else you got?
I got a slider as well that I've kind of developed this year, at the start of this year, and then I have a changeup that I mix in from time to time as well. But I'd say like the go-to pitch has been the slider most of the year.
Okay, really? So you like it that much? It's a new pitch, and you're already.
Yeah, I mean, I've dabbled with it in the past a little bit, but I think we made the minor jump and kind of looked at the TrackMan data and made the realization that this slider could be a wipeout pitch and be my go-to breaking ball. Okay. And we've kind of gone with that.
All right. Yeah. Four-seamer or sinker?
I throw a 4-seam, but it's funny because it moves kind of like a 2-seam.
Well, hey, whatever works,
That's right.
So
left-handed, I'm weird.
That's right. You lefties can't trust you anywhere. I thought it was interesting your last year of high school, and then you made the jump to the draft league, and your velocity made a corresponding jump. You have any reason for that?
I think it was just a matter of throwing, like just playing catch almost every single day and just building up arm strength. Because when I was back home in Canada, it would be like usually you play catch 3 or 4 times a week, and usually on those days it's you get off the mound. And I never really realized until I got to the academy I was at in Georgia, the March of the 2021 season, that like playing catch every day and like building up arm strength would play that much of an effect into it. Mm-hmm. And then as I got into the draft league, I saw my velocity start to uptick almost every single outing.
Yeah, that's interesting because you don't see a lot of players drafted from northern states in the United States, and then even fewer from Canada, and a lot of it is the geography that you're in. I mean, you see the hotbeds for the draft are California, Florida, Texas, and Georgia, and that's why, because they can throw you around. But
that's right.
So how much has being able to get into a throwing program where you can get outside and throw? You just spoke to it, but how much do you think it's helped you?
I'd say that it's helped me tremendously. Just kind of following a routine and being able to like understand and know what I'm doing every single day to like execute what I want, like just the buildup of like every day between starts. So it'd be like 75 feet today, tomorrow it'd be 120, and on Saturday, which is my game day, I'll extend it out to like 220-ish feet. So just following that routine and like and with the throwing, understanding my body and like where I'm at. If I'm not feeling good to that day, I can tweak a few things and make some adjustments. But yeah, the throwing program has definitely helped me along the way so far.
All right. And then are you a big data guy? I mean, the Rangers are like super into it now, and every young guy we have on seems to be able to speak in it like a second language. Are you into vert and horizontal movement and all that?
I'm into. I'd say so. It's pretty cool because before I got into professional baseball, I had no clue about any of that stuff, and it's funny. I just remember having my like first bullpen and then getting my report back, and I was just mind blown by how I can just watch every single pitch that I've thrown and like break down all the different data. But yeah, I think that was pretty cool that we have access to every single pitch that we've basically thrown in our entire professional career. But yeah, it's pretty nice to have that data available for me. Like I'll throw a bullpen and we have like a data apprentice who's here with us for the entire season. So if I have questions, I can approach him on stuff, and he's very knowledgeable and he can help me out.
Yeah, I don't understand any of it really. I just know I just know what I hear, and then trust you guys that you're telling the truth. But have they run you through the lab? Have you come to Texas yet this season and gone through the lab, or is that something coming up?
So I threw in the lab in Arizona. I want to say that was February-ish, March.
Yeah.
Funny thing, I was actually supposed to be there yesterday, but my parents came to town, and I haven't seen them since January when I came down here. So I called, made some phone calls, and made sure it was okay that we could reschedule that.
All right. Yeah, because Josh was here, right?
Mm-hmm, that's right. Josh was there 2 days ago. Okay. He just got back yesterday.
All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really interesting, and I think it kind of speaks to their development that they would take you guys out of your environment to bring you here and get their hands on you. And yeah, I think it's just like I was saying, a whole new world. I mean, it's crazy for us. And you know, they don't let media in the lab. I mean, I know where the one in Surprise is. It's right behind the Village, and they're like, no, you cannot. We've asked, and it's apparently they're.
We don't know what experience.
Maybe that's where they're making all their counterfeit bills to pay Simeon and Seager right now. Yeah. But I don't know what goes on in that place. But it's very intriguing, and I want to go. But I guess they're afraid we'll give away proprietary information or something.
The experiments they're running on these kids, you know, they're like the lab
control group
left-hander from Canada. They're running it.
So do you think you're ahead of where you thought you'd be when you got drafted last year?
Yes, most definitely. Like if I were to ask myself when I got drafted, would I be like succeeding in low A right now and pitching really well, I would have honestly been like, I'm not too sure. Like, yeah, I knew I was good at the time, but I wasn't sure how the competition would have played up and everything. But yes, I mean, I'm very happy with where I'm at and how things are progressing. But like a year ago, honestly, I don't know if I would have told you that things have been going as smooth sailing as they are now. I mean, there's been minor hiccups along the road. Sure. Like at the beginning of spring training, I had a minor injury, but I got here, kind of recovered from that, and everything's been great so far. I'm feeling healthy.
Yeah, well, that was like a shoulder fatigue or something, right? I remember talking to you about it.
I guess what happened was my range of motion in my shoulder was like too good, and they had to, so I had a little bit of hyperextension. And it kind of affected everything in my arm. So then my forearm started to flare up a bit, and we kind of just took some precautions, got an MRI, everything was clean there, and then they shut me down from throwing for 2 full weeks, and then the slow progression back, and I was ready to go by mid-April, I'd say.
Yeah.
So I didn't throw any games in spring training, which is kind of disappointing, but I mean, I'm healthy now. Everything feels great. So just trying to continue that.
No, because I saw you on the backfields, and you had just started throwing again, I think. So yeah, that makes sense, because it was, I don't know, it was middle March, I think. It was like March 20th, March 21st. So anyway, enough of that. So how do you stay grounded? I mean, you feel like you're taking off and ahead developmentally. How do you not look too far ahead?
I just try to focus on the day-to-day activities that we do here. Just try to like take it one day at a time, just trying to get better. Like I usually, it's kind of cliche, but just like 1% better every day, like kind of look myself in the mirror and just say, how did I improve myself, or how did I get worse? Usually it's how did I improve myself? But there are going to be days where, you don't feel great and things aren't really going your way, but I'm just trying my best to like just live in the moment and enjoy the process, and not look too far ahead in the future. I mean, just continue to throw well and continue to pound the zone with my success and all my pitches, and just see where it takes me.
Well, it's working so far, so don't change anything. Shoot, keep it going. All right, so I'm done with my baseball questions. You're familiar with the show as a longtime fan.
Now you're mine.
Anyway, we hand over to John for the goofy stuff. So
yeah.
It's not all goofy, but it's stuff that's more enjoyable than what I ask.
And I always get into a little bit of baseball. Like, what was your velo in high school, and what are you throwing now?
In high school, like my senior year, it was probably like 88, 90, 91, 92. I was at the 94, I believe, but that was like a one-time thing.
Right.
Yeah, it was usually like 88, 91, right in that area. And then now it's my last outing, I was like 91, 94. I've been up to 95. So
harder than I throw.
The baseballs played into effect with that. I'm a big fan of the minor league baseballs and the scenes, so I can really get behind it.
All right, now you're from Newmarket, Canada, right?
That's right.
That's right. You came down. Now your senior year, was it your senior year? Just your senior year, you came down to Georgia Premier Academy down in Georgia, down in Statesboro, Georgia. So was COVID a part of that? Was it to get in front of more eyes? What was the situation?
So with that scenario, what happened is COVID played into effect with that. And all I wanted to do was put myself in a situation where the draft would have been a possibility, or because I was going to attend Florida State University. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So it was either just put myself in the best position possible to go to Florida State and have some innings under my belt, or put myself in a good position for the draft and just see how things played out. So yeah, with COVID affecting everything, there was a lot of uncertainty what was going to happen. Like when COVID first hit, I was down in Florida with Team Canada playing some games against some spring training teams. And as I said, a lot of uncertainty, not sure what's going to happen. And then the team Georgia Premier reached out, who were in Statesboro, and we kind of clicked right away, and we knew this would be a good plan going forward, and things just progressed from there.
Okay, so you grow up in Canada. Obviously, you play baseball. Any other sports you played growing up? I mean, I know in high school you basically concentrated on baseball because it brought you down to Georgia. But was there anything else? I mean, hockey's huge up there. Did you ever play hockey?
I did play a little bit of hockey. It's funny because I never played like organized hockey growing up, just because my mom was always not into that with the contact and everything. So I never really played that. But during the winter, it's pretty cool because I have a pond behind my house, and since it freezes over during the winter, me and a couple buddies would take shovels and take our skates and sticks and just kind of go shovel out a little area and then go play some hockey.
Now, do you wrist it left-handed?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you're straight left-handed, like you bat left-handed, and you play golf left-handed, because
that's right.
Some guys some lefties can be righties at times, and some righties can be lefties. But
yeah,
like
so I do everything left-handed.
Everything left-handed. All right.
And Mickelson right-handed, all of that. And then
throws right-handed. Yeah, just golf's left-handed.
Okay, so you were going to Florida State, so you had eyes on you. You were going to go to Florida State. Was there anybody else you considered?
Yeah, there were probably 4 or 5 schools that I narrowed it down to, who were like interested, but I would say the top schools are Florida State, Oregon, Pittsburgh, Ole Miss, and then can't remember the last one, to be honest with you. But those were like the top 4 that I was interested in. But like how everything played out, like the recruiting process, I didn't commit when I was like a super young, like sophomore or anything. I committed my junior year, and how it all played out was pretty crazy because I traveled all of that 2019 summer, just playing travel ball and going around. and then I got invited to go play with Team Canada in the World U18 Championships in South Korea. So I went and played there, and I was trying to coordinate all like the different dates of different teams or different schools I'd be talking to. But it was hard because of time difference, since I'm 14 hours ahead of everybody else.
Right.
And I'm trying to coordinate all that. And so I came home, I set the date up to go to Florida State to attend my visit. And I was talking to Oregon as well, but just couldn't really figure out a date there, just because I was so busy, and was home for probably 4 days after the South Korea trip. And then I went to Florida State and went on my visit there, and then I committed after that.
On the spot, or did you go home and think?
Yes, it was on the spot. My dad and I the whole family sat down, and we kind of thought things through, and thought this is the best opportunity for me.
All right.
That's awesome. That's great. Now, so we know now, though, you were taken in the 2021 draft. You were taken in the 5th round by the Texas Rangers last year. So let me ask this. So how do you find out you were drafted? Where were you, and how'd you find out?
So it's a pretty funny story, because I was in West Virginia at the time playing in the MLB Draft League for the West Virginia Black Bears. And the rules for back home, like if I were to travel back home to Canada, I'd have to quarantine for 14 days. And the days just didn't line up, and I didn't want to shut down my throwing program because I'd have to stay inside for the next 14 days and not go anywhere. So my dad came down, and my mom came down as well. So the draft happened in a hotel room in West Virginia. We had it on the TV, so that was pretty cool. And like the whole scenario is I didn't find out I was getting picked until I heard my name called.
Oh, really?
So no one called your cell phone or anything, said, "Hey, we're about to take it."
I had a phone call. My agent called me and said, "Hey, like they're interested. Not sure like what's going to happen here." And I just said, "Okay, like sounds good, whatever." And then the commercial break between the 4th and 5th round, my agent didn't have enough time to call me. He had to text me and say, "Would this work?" And I was like, "Yes." And then he says Texas, and I look up at the screen, and Texas is up with the next pick. So I wasn't sure if they had like another guy that they were going to like another guy as well. Like it was like me or another guy. So I just tried to stay level headed. Mm-hmm. And then I look over at my dad to the left, and he has his phone up, like he's recording. And I'm like, "What do you know? Like, you know something I don't." And he's like, no, like we can just delete the video if it's not you. And then, and then I was just kind of like so focused on the TV. And then when I heard my name called, I don't remember the rest of that. I kind of just broke down, and just from all the things I had been through, traveling, having to be away from home at such a young age. And the whole process that led up to that was just such a surreal moment.
All right. So were you in your hotel room, or were you like in the lobby?
No, I was in the hotel room.
Oh, okay.
Where at in West Virginia? I used to go up there all the time. What part of West Virginia?
We were in Morgantown.
Morgantown. So you were up near Pittsburgh. Okay.
Yeah, but
that's right.
College.
That's right.
Yeah. So did you play? Were your games at West Virginia?
That's right. Yeah, they were at the West Virginia Stadium.
What hotel were you in? Like, were you in a Marriott, or were you like in a Super 8?
I want to say it was like a nicer hotel.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly the name of it. It's probably like a Staybridge suite.
And that was the draft league.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
I mean, it might be a better. I don't know if it'd be a better story or not. Like, we were crowded into a Motel 6 hotel room, and
we're in an Arby's parking lot.
That's all the draft league would do for us. So he made the best of it. So that's a cool story, though.
Yeah, it is.
And, the circumstances. The Rangers opened the season in Toronto this year, and I went for, and but at that time, masks. Not very many people wearing masks outdoors, at least. It's not like it is here, probably in North Carolina, but it seemed like things were getting relaxed a little bit. Now, I still had to get a test to get out of the country.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is no longer anymore. So you can enter freely, like back and forth now.
Okay. Yeah, the airport. God. Pearson, it's just a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess. Yes.
Yeah. And I think, and I don't know if COVID has made it worse, but man, that was a tight one getting home. But anyway, enough about the troubles of Canada.
So Newmarket though. So is that near Toronto? What part is that? What province?
So, I mean, there's something called like the GTA, so the Greater Toronto Area, and I am just past that. So I'm about 45 minutes north of the Rogers Center, so downtown Toronto.
Okay. So that you grew up a Jays fan, and that was your big city was Toronto.
That's correct.
Okay.
So you were a Blue Jays fan?
I was a Blue Jays fan.
Okay. Do you remember the Batista home run?
I do remember that. Yes. Yeah.
So
were you pretty crazy game?
Were you at the game, or were you just watching? Or I guess
I
it
was
a game, so you're probably at school.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I remember finishing school one day, and it was like an afternoon game. I don't think it was the Batista bat flip game, but I just remember getting out of elementary school and like pulling up my iPod at the time and just trying to watch the game, and on the bus before I lost Wi-Fi and just trying to keep up. So that's cool.
I mean, I was there covering the game, and the Blue Jays had Elvis Andrus, God bless him, had made the errors, and I think Rougned Odor should have caught a ball and didn't, and so it was tied. And I just remember the crowd had a buzz. I mean, there's always really good crowds in Toronto when they're good, and the noise went from 0 to 60, and like as soon as he hit the ball. I mean, and I didn't notice the bat flip at first. In fact, I guess I saw it on replay, and I was like, yeah, it's probably a little not old school, and it's probably going to tick off some people. You kind of sense it. And then after the game, Elvis talked, and Cole Hamels is the one who kind of was most diplomatic about it. He didn't care for it, and then that that's kind of what started, I think, the current bat flip versus no bat flip, old school versus unwritten rules versus written rules. And I think it goes back to there, because I mean, it was he hit it, looked, and threw his bat. I mean,
that's right.
It wasn't really a flip. It was like a heave. It was like
it was an emotional moment.
Yeah.
And he had just tattooed a ball too. I mean,
he hammered it.
He hammered the ball. I mean, I could imagine if I could hit a ball that far, I might do a cartwheel all the way down to first base.
Well, and the moment, of course, gave the team the lead, and they had lost the first two games, so it worked out great for them. But I do remember that very distinctly. I remember just about everything in that game.
Okay, so you're going to Florida State. You've obviously come down during the summers. You've played. When was it you get drafted by the Rangers? When did you first notice that scouts were checking you out? How old were you when you were like, you know what, I may have a chance here because scouts are talking to me?
I would say the first time I noticed that was probably at the very early stages when I was like 15 or 16. So we have a tournament back home. It's called Tournament 12, and it's hosted at the Rogers Center. So they take like different, like all over the country of Canada, they take different like tryouts and stuff. And if you make the team, there's probably like 60 or so guys who get invited to the Rogers Center and play at their stadium. And when I was 15, I went to the tryout and didn't really have much expectation. It was more so just to kind of get my name out there and see what these events were like. So I'm thrown in the bullpen, and then I was told to stop. And then so the guy behind gets on the phone, and then all I see is a guy because the bullpen was behind right field. Like I see the guy from home plate full sprinting to come like see what's going on here, like with my bullpen. And I'm looking around, I look at my dad, he looks at me, he's like, "What'd you do?" I'm like, like something's going on here. And so then they just told me to continue. So I finished the bullpen, and then they call me over and they call my dad over. And then he's like, "Listen, like your son has like a bright future in this game if he like continues to work hard." And my dad just kind of blew him off and was like, "Yeah, all right. Like you say that to a lot of people." And then, like, he's like, "Seriously, like something could be special here." So that's kind of like the defining moment. I know I was young at the time, like how like things progressed, but that was like the really early stages. And then another one for me was when we were with Team Canada. I made Team Canada like the under 18 national team when I was 15 years old. So I was one of few who've ever done that, and that was a really cool opportunity, and I embraced all of that. And we were playing the Phillies right before COVID shut everything down, and that was like really the pivotal moment of like I could really run with this thing here. It's a good opportunity, and just put myself in the best position.
Wow. So now, so you get drafted in the 5th. Did you have at any point I mean, was there a lot of teams you knew? You had talked to scouts, and there are a few teams. Was there anybody else you really thought, I've really talked to this team a lot too, and this could possibly happen? Any other teams like that?
I mean, yeah, there were a few teams who I thought were really interested. Just leading up to the draft, conversations with my agent and them. Yes, there were probably like 4 or 5 that I thought would take a shot, but it was the Rangers, and I wouldn't change it for a thing.
That's great.
So hey, did you face Drew Jones there in Georgia?
I don't believe I did. No, I did not.
I mean, the Rangers, if you look at their draft history, recent, I'd say the last 10 years, they draft the heck out of Georgia.
They like Georgia.
Scout it, and they do well, and there's a good reason, because there are a lot of good players from Georgia, including the top of this year's draft. So, and Mitch Bratt.
And Mitch Bratt, who went down to Georgia to be good, right? Yes.
That's right.
Hey, so let me ask you this: what do you do outside of baseball? Do you hunt, golf, fish? What do you do? You're from Canada. You skate. What do you do?
I would say just kind of hang out and kind of laying low with my friends, family. I'm not really one who likes to go out and party and go do stuff like that. I just kind of like to watch movies, stay inside, just hang out with my buddies.
Video games?
Golfing, I've a little bit, some video games. It's kind of hard to play MLB, the show, just because it's all I really do during the day. So
yeah,
I dabble with some video games. But yeah, just like talking to my friends, catching up with them from back home, and just kind of laying low. I like to relax and just enjoy my off days and enjoy my off time. But I've been meaning to get some golf clubs for the past like 6 months now. I've been kind of on the fence about it, and everyone's telling me just do it. But I don't know if I can come to terms. They're pretty expensive, but I think I got to do it.
What you have a Phoenix area code on your phone.
That's right.
Do you live in Phoenix in the off season, or did you just need a phone one day and you're like, well, I better go over here to T-Mobile and get one?
So what happened with that is I had like a Canadian phone plan that was US and Canada. And it was just ridiculously expensive because just was everything. And so I thought, okay, I needed a new phone plan. I knew I was going to be in the States for the long haul. So
yeah,
I ended up just going to the local AT&T and getting a new phone number. All
right. Yeah, I didn't know. Like I've written some stories about guys, and like Ryan Garcia, he bought a house in Arizona,
right.
And Kyle Cody has a house in Arizona. There are a lot of guys. Derek Holland did that, bought a house in Arizona. So a lot of guys have bought homes there because they know that's where they'll be. And
that's a surprise. You'll be there a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Just wondering.
All right. What's your favorite food?
Favorite food? Gotta go. I like chicken wings. Can't go wrong with chicken wings.
Chicken
I'd
wings.
say it's like a nice bowl of pasta would be my go-to.
Okay.
Or a good steak, either or.
Okay. Marinara or Alfredo sauce on this pasta?
I like just marinara. I like it with red peppers, meatballs.
Sure.
Sausage. I'm pretty straightforward.
Yeah, no, that's me.
You're young too, so I imagine you're packing calories, right? You're packing on calories every day.
Yes. That's right. Yeah, I make a pretty nice breakfast here pretty much every morning because we don't have to be at the field till the afternoon. So, the grocery bill definitely takes a toll, but I mean, it definitely helps.
So what about? Is there a Canada specific food that you like?
It's not big around here.
I'm trying to think. I mean, like the only one that I can think of is poutine, which is just like fries, cheese curds, and gravy, which is pretty good. But
what is it?
There's not really. It's like French fries with gravy on top of it, and then cheese curds that are put on top.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Not that I need that, but that sounds really good.
You need it every once in a while. You can't just eat flowers and vegetables.
But there's nothing really else that's like so different. I mean, it's funny. Like everyone always jokes around like, oh, like you're from Canada, everything's different. I'm like, it's the same thing as as you guys have here. It's just there's like minor differences in the weather. But
yeah,
really
we speak English in Canada.
Yeah,
right.
Most of it.
So you're not up eating the Viking Nordic food, the little the canned fish and all that. They eat no.
God.
All right, so let me ask this. Now you've been in the States a while now too, but back and forth. What's your favorite fast food that's your go-to when you need to go get something? This is your favorite to go do.
I mean, I got 2 or 3. I'd say my go-to is definitely Chipotle. They're pretty hard to come by from back home, but it's nice because there's one like right beside the facility I train at back home in Canada. I go there all the time, but but definitely here it's Chipotle. I really like Firehouse subs. That's a really good one. I think what else, and can't go wrong with Chick-fil-A. I mean, it's pretty good.
Yep, a lot of people like Chick-fil-A. I like Chick-fil-A. Now, let me ask you this. Now, have you had a chance to do In-N-Out or Whataburger? That's the big hamburger joint that the big debate down here in Texas.
Right. So this is pretty funny because my experience with In-N-Out isn't the greatest. The one time I had it, I got food poisoning.
Oh.
Yeah. So there was a camp in Arizona in like the beginning of January for some of the pitching prospects.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
The day before that, I had In-N-Out for the first time, and I missed 2 of the 3 days because I had food poisoning at that camp.
So that
was
In-N-Out
definitely
right
not
there by the complex.
That's right. Right. Yeah. So, and I've never had Whataburger before, so.
But Whataburger's ahead, even though you've never had it.
Whataburger's in the lead by default.
Okay, this is one of my favorite ones too. Your favorite home cooked meal that you love, like, and who cooks it? Is it mom? And every time you go home, she makes it. Grandma, maybe she makes something. What's your favorite home cooked meal, and who cooks it?
I'd say 2. The one my mom makes is just like a stir fry. She can really cook up a good stir fry. Just rice, chicken, bunch of vegetables. It's phenomenal. And then my dad, he makes some good pasta as well. Just with like red peppers, meatballs, marinara sauce. It's pretty straightforward, but I mean, it's really good.
All right.
Okay.
Simple's better. I mean,
simple stuff.
I've not heard anything yet that I'm not ready to go chow down with Mitch Bratt, and we'll just sit down and have mom kick us up some stir fry, and we'll go crazy there. Okay, last thing before we get you out of here, you get down to the stadium. Okay, we asked this question to everybody. It's what is something nobody knows about you? We've had some great answers. You might have heard them. We've got Jack Leiter, can't stand peanut butter. He hates it. What's some of the other ones we have? We got
Brock Burke and the sleepwalking.
Sleepwalking with Brock Burke.
And Blaine Krim hitting naked is another good one.
Yep, when he was young, he used to hit naked.
Things like that.
Things like that. What is something that nobody knows about Mitch Bratt?
I'd say I already mentioned one earlier, is that like you think every Canadian plays hockey and does that, but no, never played organized hockey. Never did that. And the other one is, I mentioned earlier that I did everything left-handed, but the one thing I do right-handed is play like racket sports, like tennis, ping pong. The coordination on my left hand just isn't there to do that for some odd reason. So right hand just comes natural to me.
That's very cool. So you swing left-handed, you throw left-handed, you right left-handed, but by God, when ping pong comes up or tennis, we're going right.
It's the right hand.
So you do it all left-handed, then it's right-handed on that. That's different.
All right, I'll take that.
Can you throw right-handed? I know you can't throw like you can, but do you look okay throwing right-handed?
Yeah. I'd say I can hold my own. It's funny because when we finish our throwing program during batting practice, I don't want to use my left arm to throw, so I just switch hands and throw with my right, and most of the time I can get it to the bucket. So,
the big thing that we all were in awe about with you, Darvish, was that he throws right-handed. He's a right-handed pitcher, but he throws left-handed, and it's like really good. It's like mid-80s, a lot of movement. I mean, he could get guys out, I think, with it. And he's a very, I don't want to say complicated guy, but he does a lot of biomechanics and stuff, and he just felt that throwing left-handed was good for his body and his brain. But like he was really good at it. I mean,
I've heard it's great to do some things right-handed to get your brain working on that side. But that's interesting that you do every single thing left-handed. But when you play racquetball or you play tennis or ping pong, you got to go right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I do everything right-handed.
Yeah. Left-handed for me.
left-handed.
I could throw left-handed okay, but it's never going to be impressive.
Like if I'm playing catch with my kid,
Absolutely.
I can do it, but I can't.
Well, Mitch, anything else, Jeff, before we get into it?
Just again, appreciate you coming on and enjoy your birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Sounds like you're not going to go too crazy, and your parents are there. So
you're not hitting the pubs there in North Carolina. You're not going to be hitting he's not old enough, but he's not a partier. He's already said that. So, hey, Mitch, we really appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for stopping down. Tell your folks thanks for listening. And obviously when we get this thing out, we'll tag you on Twitter and make sure they all get a listen. That's Mitch Bratt, left-handed pitcher with the Texas Rangers. Bud, thanks so much, and good luck on your next outing.
Yes, thank you guys for having me. I had a blast. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
All right, bud.
All right, bud. We'll see you later.
We'll see you soon.
Roxo Media House is a streaming and production company located in Fort Worth, Texas. From video to podcast production and social media broadcasting, Roxo Media House strives to deliver a dynamic media experience for clients and fans. With 15 shows, we have something for the whole family. Join the Roxo Media community today.
All right, and a big thanks to Mitch Bratt for sitting down and talking to us right there. But with Mitch Bratt talking to us means we need to go down in the bus leagues, talk about the minor league system. We always start out at low A down east where Mitch Bratt is pitching. They're 36 and 34 total, but they have started their second half of the season. And if you don't know how the minor leagues do it, they have two halves. The top teams in each halves make the playoffs. Is that still how they do it to get there? But down east is starting the second half. They're 3-2. They're 3-2 in their last 5 games. There's no 10 games, and they just lost 2 in a row. So they started out 3-0.
Yeah, well, they won 6 straight there. They swept a road trip. They beat Carolina 6 straight. So that's pretty good. That's a good way to finish. Hickory had a good finish the first half, but down east, they're really pitching heavy right now, and Mitch is one of them, but Winston Santos, Emiliano Teodo,
right?
Jose Corniel, who was from the Mariners, and the Rafael Montero trade. They had Larson Kindrich, who's moved up to Hickory.
Yep.
Good batch of young starters there. Mitch has climbed into some top 25 rankings, top 30 rankings, and
his numbers are great.
Very good, but I mean, a couple preseason. I think Keith Law with the Athletic had him in the top 20. He's 22 right now at MLB Pipeline. I think. I'm not sure about Baseball America. I should know that since I helped write for him. But anyway,
you remember everything, but you technically can't remember everything. Well, so every once in a while, it's nice to see Jeff's brain take a freeze for just a second.
But these are Winston Santos is in the Baseball America top 25. I think he's top. They're top 30. I think he's 25th. So some good arms to watch down there. The hitters, the bats have cooled. Yosi Galan, who was the player of the week,
right?
Early May, late April, he's cooled off. Marcus Smith has never gotten going. Cam Cauley, Ian Mahler, still trying to get going.
Yeah, adjusting.
It looks like Efrainier Navarez, the catcher, has started to hit a little bit. His average is over 200. I know that's.
Alejandro Osuna has been consistent. Yeah, he's the only one that's kind of
right, and he's a little bit older. He's and he has some experience. He's 19, but he's from Mexico. He played professionally in Mexico before the Rangers signed him, and his brother's former major league pitcher and domestic abuser Roberto Osuna. So, it's a struggle to score runs down there.
Yeah, his impressive numbers are that he's got 30 walks compared to 37 strikeouts. And whenever you're looking at a guy behind the numbers, when you see that they're walking almost as much as they're striking out, at least there's some plate discipline. He is older, like you said. He played in the Mexican League. I was looking up his numbers and I was noticing that. I was like, so that's not minor league teams he was playing for.
Yeah.
He was playing for some professionally down there. Then we go to Hickory. Hickory is 38 and 28 overall, but they've started their second half of the season. They're 2-3. 2-3 in their last 5. There's no 10 to go through. They've lost 3 in a row.
Yeah, 3 in a row. It's going to happen.
This is minor leagues. Their wins and losses don't matter.
And that roster is changing a little bit. You saw the promotion of Owen White.
Right.
Mark Church just got bumped up, so there's a big bullpen arm that's gone. They've added Larson Kindrich. So And these rosters change, and the teams have nothing to do with it. You
right.
know, if you're a general manager of a minor league team, that means you're managing the event.
Exactly.
You're not managing the roster at all. So they're kind of at the whim of the organization here, and players are going to come and go. Still a good team. You know, Evan Carter. Speaking of Hickory, one of 3 Rangers who were pitcher player of the week last week.
Yep. He
was the South Atlantic League Player of the Week. At 455 grand slam, a couple triples, 4 steals, 8 RBIs. So that's pretty good. You know, he hit a little swoon there after a good start, and it looks like he's starting to come around. You know, Luis Angel Acuna.
Yeah, he may be the most.
Frisco could be in his relative near future.
Yeah.
I think before August, if he continues doing what he's doing, he gets called up. And Zavala's having steadying out. Hover, who I've written about at rangersday.com, $5.98 a month, $60 a year. He's doing well. So there is some talent there, and we'd be remiss to not talk about former guest Mason Englert, who's probably been their most consistent starter the whole season.
Yeah, and when you talk about that 2020 draft when they picked up Evans, Evan Carter, in that draft, also another guy, the 5th round pick, Thomas Sajaci, he's been consistent.
Sure.
He's hitting 289 with a 789 OPS. That was a guy going to Pepperdine in that, the Rangers really took flyers on guys that year and kind of over. And that was a name that had just done well, and he's done okay. Ricky Vanasco last night, 5 innings pitched, 10 Ks. Yeah. Only gave up 1 earned run, or 2 earned runs, excuse me. But Ricky is finally, the walks were down. I think he only had 2 walks. And that's getting it together. It's good to see Ricky starting to go. He's actually had a couple of decent outings. He really struggled getting going.
I mean, it's overpowering stuff. I mean,
that's absolutely.
When it's on, it's as good as anybody in the system.
I mean, it's near triple digits.
That's not hyperbole. I mean, there are people in the Ranger system who think that Ricky Vanasco might turn out to be the best pitching prospect of them all. So,
absolutely.
And he hadn't pitched since 2019. Yeah, he pitched in instructs this last year. Okay,
right.
Fine. But he had to get readjusted to it, get back on the routine. We've communicated with him to try to get him to make a second appearance on the show, and he seems really zeroed in on his day job, which is fine.
Yep.
And we'll get him in the off season, but I think he realized that it's going to be some work, maybe a little more than he thought, and but here he is, and again showing good
signs.
Stuff in spurts.
We still got a half a season to go here. Maybe he can start to.
Sure.
He might be somebody, if this were to continue going on, maybe late. Possibly could see something up to Frisco.
Maybe.
But he's got to get where he's got to get. He's got to. He's at the age where he could make that bump, but he's got to do what he did last night the rest of the way. He's got to kick that in and get going, and he is capable. We've seen it before.
Yeah.
Frisco, 36-34 overall. They're 0-2 starting the second half of the season. Obviously, they've lost 2. That's the way to start. Leiter, we got to talk about Leiter.
Yeah. Little email drop there yesterday afternoon that he is going on the developmental list he will not make his start this week. Dealing with some arm fatigue is what the team is calling it. They, very quickly, I just wrote this in the weekly farm report at rangerstoday.com. They really poured some cold, they tried to put this fire out saying, hey, it's just fatigue. He just needs a week off. He's going to be fine.
He's not going on the IL.
Yeah. And it's as I wrote, it's kind of a trend here this season where instead of asking a prospect to fight through the arm fatigue, they're just giving him time off. They've done it multiple times with different guys this year. Zach Kent, also former podcast guest, also AA. He is on the injured list. Basically the same thing. He's just getting a break.
Right.
And so, do you worry about this? I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess you worry about it a little bit. You watch it. If the team thinks it's a big enough deal to, even if they're being ultra conservative, if they feel the need to be conservative, you wonder about it. But I think that Leiter's at about 48 1/3 innings. So he threw 114. Was was 114, 112, 114 last year.
110 with
Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So he's kind of going to be approaching that number. Didn't pitch really after this time last year. Basically he took 6-9 months off before he pitched in a game again. So it's it's understandable, but again, I think the overriding thing here is the new philosophy is developing pitchers don't have to fight through anything. They need to develop, and they can learn how to fight through a little arm fatigue as they get older and develop more and understand how to pitch a little bit more. So, why risk anything? Whether it's a breakdown in mechanics or, which could lead to a shot in confidence, which could lead to an injury. Yeah. Take a break, get healthy, and pitch when you're at your best. Develop when you're at your best or as good as you can be.
He's not a guy that's going to let the numbers bother him right now. He knows with his dad and coming from Vanderbilt, he understands he's come to a new league. These are better hitters than he faced in the SEC, all of that. But you know what? Sometimes you need to sit down, you need to clear your head, not face a hitter, just decompress for a little bit.
Yeah.
Arm fatigue's part of it. Yes, it probably clear your head a little bit too. Not that there's mentally nothing wrong, but if we rest the arm, you get that week off, come back in it. Be interesting to watch the second half and see where he's rolling on that.
Sure. And he might get a little more rope, but his ERA is still 5.36, 60 strikeouts in the 48 innings. So
absolutely,
it's not all bad.
No, not at all. Owen White did make his first start in Double-A. He went 5 1/3. Only gave up two earned runs. I think he struck out 5. So not bad for his start.
Yeah, and you always hear, well, that's the biggest jump in the minor leagues, and you hear a lot of times it's high A to Double-A, and so this is a good test for Owen.
Both pitchers and hitters.
Yeah, right.
So a guy that's hitting well in high A jumps up to Triple-A, and it changes a little bit. And hitters are more patient. At the Double-A level, you've seen Duran, who jumped up to the major leagues.
Yeah.
Teams will go to Double-A and pick a hot one if they need to get up. When you're at Double-A, you're one phone call away from maybe getting a swim in the big league, or at least a look. So these guys are more patient, and that's what you're dealing with as a pitcher if they're not nibbling.
Yeah.
Ornelas still the last week's guest, still the best hitter there. Offense, we know what's there on offense. You've got Foscue, Krim. You've got guys there all the way, through the system.
One thing that's interesting is Dustin Harris has been batting leadoff for him.
Yeah, I noticed that.
He is athletic and fast, so that's good. But he takes really good at bats.
Yes,
and he is an on base guy. I mean, he's a lot of things. But I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. And then a side note, you mentioned Foscue and we have Leiter. My son's plays MLB The Show. And somehow on his team, he has managed to get Jack Leiter and Justin Foscue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're in the game and really highly rated. And he's thrown a perfect game with Leiter and a no-hitter.
I was there when you got the call for that.
He's very, very excited about it. and then Justin Foscue, when we went on our trip to Tennessee, we drove and we went through Huntsville, which is his hometown, and we were looking for a place to eat. And so I sent Justin a text. I was like, hey, man, we're coming through your hometown. Give us a place to eat. And the first place he recommended was Rosie's, but Rosie's was closed. So we ended up going to a different place, a Mexican place. So I just haven't followed up. So if he's listening, and he's a two-time guest, so it's entirely possible that he listens to these still. Thank you, Justin, for the lunch recommendation.
That tip for the next time I'm through there. I mean, so Rosie's is one I'm going to write down to do that.
But they're closed Sundays. It was a Sunday, and Rosie's was closed.
Okay, Round Rock. Round Rock's 38-36. They don't do the two halves. They go with full season. They're 5-5 in the last 10 games. They've won one. Wynn had a good game last night.
Yeah,
he's had a couple.
Yeah, and that's good. I think it was a career long 6 2/3 innings.
8 Ks,
8 strikeouts. The walks were down. That's been the thing. It's been
2 walks.
He's had trouble with his fastball command, and which seems unusual because it's always been pretty good. So maybe he figured something out. It looks like he's trending the right way. And again, there is opportunity in the major league pitching staff, and Wynn is a guy who the Rangers thought would be
making in the major league debut this year.
Right about this time, probably they thought that. It just hasn't worked out that way, but
we're not even halfway through the season.
Sure, the AAA season's a little bit longer this year, so they're approaching halfway. The Rangers will hit halfway next week, I think. But there's opportunity there, but he has to pitch better. He has to earn it. They're not letting what he did last year speak for him. He has to, new year, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, absolutely.
And another element here, and something that's going to play a factor, I think, at the trade deadline, as well as who gets called up, is the Rule 5 draft next year.
Yeah.
And holy cow, the Rangers have so many guys that are guys that you're going to lose some of them. You just probably are. It's just kind of the way it is right now. But Wynn's one of them.
Yep.
And he needs to be protected in the offseason. So that could lead to them preemptively adding him to the 40-man during the season and doing it that way. But boy, there are a bunch of them, and Josh Young is one of them too. So if he's healthy and hitting at the end of September, end of August on schedule, and hits well at AAA, and they say, hey, we might as well add him to the 40 and give him a taste. So there's a lot at play here. And if there are guys, you saw this last year with Hans Kraus. Hans Kraus was included in the Kyle Gibson trade because he had to go on the 40-man this last offseason, and the Rangers weren't sure they're going to have room for him. So that's why he got traded. Also, that's why the Yankees traded Glenn Otto and Duran, because both of those guys had to go on their 40-man or get exposed to the Rule 5 draft. So there's a lot in play here, and if the Rangers are going to make a deal for a guy who's a controllable starting pitcher, even a left fielder, you could see that they may have to give up a guy who's Rule 5 eligible, who's a name that you'd be like, why are they trading him? Well, that's part of the reason why.
And let's talk about someone else that Jonathan Hernandez has started to pick up. Pitched 1 inning last night. He struck out 2. So did Yuri Rodriguez. Another name mentioned that could possibly be a bullpen arm at some time. He had 1 inning with 2 Ks. He's not Yuri, who started out as a starting pitcher, has moved to the bullpen and had success, but he's just now, he's scuttled a bit this year, or he'd already been
and last year too.
But Hernandez,
it's interesting that's probably going to happen. I would think here, and then before the All-Star break. But with the way Leclerc has pitched, I think they realize now they brought Leclerc back too soon.
Yeah.
And he's basically still working his way back, and that's something they couldn't have in the bullpen. They can have one of them,
right?
But they can't have two. They can't have two. So they have to make sure that Jonathan Hernandez is ready to perform well, and be able to rebound and pitch either back-to-back or with just 1 day's rest, whereas Leclerc is still working on some things.
Yep, and as far as the hitting goes down there, you still got your players. Duran's now in AAA. Steele Walker had a good night, hit a home run and went 4 for 5 either last night or the night before.
Well, we mentioned Huff.
Huff's had 3 home runs
in the early segment. So that's something to keep an eye on for sure. One thing that's not good is Davis Wenzel is back on the injured list. He has some back tightness or back spasms. The guy just can't stay healthy, and he's only played in 44 of their first 74 games, and last year was the broken hamate bone, and that cost him some development time. We talked to Chris Woodward not long ago, like who's the next minor leaguer who's going to come up, and he mentioned Davis Wenzel. But he said he's got to stay on the field, and that's true. You got to get the reps. He's
another one that he was in that draft with Young. So that same draft with Young, I guess Rule 5 eligibility is going to come up on him.
Yeah.
But maybe they need to shut him down and let him get. I don't know, because the numbers haven't been there, and he put them up coming up until this year. But injuries play a factor, and you see that if you're. Sometimes you try to push through an injury because you want to keep playing, and maybe that's not the best thing to do.
Right.
I think that's it. You got anything else we got to talk about? We need you to hit the subscribe button down there. Hit that subscribe button. It should be over there. We're getting up there on that. Rangers Today, $5.99 a month, $60 for the year. We keep coverage going all year long. We don't,
that's right.
Vacations are very rare, but we got things going.
That's right. And we've hit the period where annual renewals have started going out. So look for those in your inbox. You'll be getting it, and you'll need to re-up or lose out, and we don't want you losing out. And I don't think you want to lose out, because it's really, really, really good stuff.
This coverage has been great all the way from down in the bottom of it and going up. And Arizona Complex League, Have they started yet?
They've started. The Dominican Summer League has started.
I haven't looked at those numbers yet.
Yeah,
so.
there's some interesting names to keep an eye on. One of them is Anthony Gutierrez, who was the big signee this year internationally. I would not be surprised if he's in Arizona before too much longer. He's
still in the Dominican right now.
Yeah, but he's got 1,000 OPS
right now.
Playing a really good center field. He's 6'3" and a big kid, and so I wouldn't be surprised if that happens at some point here before too much longer.
All right, well, that's it, guys. Anything else before we get out of here?
Nope, just subscribe, baby. Subscribe to us. Subscribe to Rangers Today.
All right, guys, that one's in the can. Until next time, we'll see you at the yard.
Roxo Media House.